Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today, Wednesday, January the 3rd. Another wild one in the books. A lot to uncover today, from economic data to the FOMC minutes to DA headlines and marijuana. Just an overall pretty wild day. The market closing overall red as the dollar continues its bounce. And yeah, even rates touched 4% briefly today before closing and settling down at 3.9%. So overall, some pressures, and the mega cap route pretty much continues. So a lot to digest. Let's kind of go ahead and go over a few things, and let's see where things reside. So yeah, a lot to unpack here. This is your daily squeeze. All right, before we get started with the charts, let's just gotta go over a few of the economic data that we got in, starting out with the ISM Purchasing Managers Index PMI. The ISM Manufacturing PMI in the United States did improve slightly to 47.4 in December, from 46.7 in November, and this was better than market forecast of the 47.1. Still, though, the reading pointed to a 14th month of contraction in the factory activity, prolonging the most extended period of declining activity since 2001. We saw production rebound, but new orders, employment, and inventories continue to shrink. So although price pressures decreased and soft energy markets offset those increases in the steel and aluminum markets, but the supplier deliveries went up, and manufacturing supplier lead times continue to decrease, which is a positive for future economic activity. We also had our JOLTS job openings data, which decreased by 62,000 from the previous month to 8.79 million in November, making its lowest level since March of 2021, but it fell below the market consensus of 8.85 million. And this is the third consecutive month of declines of those U.S. job openings, reflecting the ongoing easing of labor market conditions. So yeah, a lot to go in there. All those data prints came in at 11 o'clock, and then at 2 o'clock we had the Fed minutes come out, and there was a good bit to digest there. Even though the market pretty much took it in stride, there wasn't too much of a reaction from the get-go. But yeah, a good bit to digest. Starting out with, most participants expected a restrictive policy stance to continue, and the market is trying to pretty much come into grips with that certain reality, because the interesting part with the market is that it's either you increase rates and continue increasing rates, or you either start to cut rates and continue to cut rates. It's like the market has this interesting argument that it's either all or nothing between rate hikes and rate cuts. For some reason, it doesn't like the idea of uh, holding rates steady where they are, and gradually doing things, and which is what the Fed is anticipating to do. And even still, the market, the Fed funds futures, is looking to cut rates, to suggest that rate cuts of 6 to 7 rate cuts for this year, which is just simply not what the Fed is, trying to put out there. So it's just an interesting stance right now that the market is trying to put out there. So I think, what we are going to see is that the rate cut for March, the anticipation of a rate cut for March, is going to slowly dwindle away. And I think we're getting some of that pressure, and that the market is going to have to get with the idea that rate cuts are coming in the second half of the year, not more towards uh, the beginning of this year, like we've seen in March and so on. And, the question is, what if the Fed cuts too early? And that could definitely pose a problem for not only the economy, the broader economy, but individuals and families altogether. So we don't want to see inflation to all of a sudden just push back higher just because the Fed just said, okay, we're done. You don't want that to happen by any means. So, we got the next Fed meeting in February, and what could be the most interesting point for that is, Powell can easily come out in February and say, lay down the hammer a little bit and say, hey, y'all are way too ahead of yourselves. We're going to keep the restrictive level higher for longer, and we're not going to cut these rates until we continue to see positive data and that inflation is still coming down, because we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. And then the question is, okay, if the Fed is going to hold steady, are they going to hold steady until something actually breaks? And then we get our problems, and then they have to cut rates quickly to try to balance things out. So it's definitely a delicate process, and I'm glad I'm not in Powell's shoes there. So but yeah, that's what we got today. It did say that the Fed minutes, that they are going to be monitoring the data, of course, and that they're going to keep the rates restrictive and monitor the data that comes in, and we'll go from there. We also have new Fed voting members at this new year. We got Harker, Logan, and Kashkari. The ones that rotated out were Bullard, Collins, George, and Mester, and those guys aren't. The new voting members aren't as hawkish as what those others. So it should be an interesting Fed year for sure. Plus it's an election year, and as we get closer to the election, things get a little bit more political, especially within the market. So we definitely want to pay attention to all that. All right, enough of the rambling. I know y'all are probably like, okay, Fuzz, we get it. Let's move on here. Lots to unpack though, and just want to make sure that y'all are on top of everything. But yeah, let's get into it, and let's pull up some charts. As we can see, the SPX closed 0.8% down on the day. The NASDAQ also down 1% on the day. The Dow down 0.7%, and the semiconductors down 1.78%, and the small caps down 2.6%. And yeah, the dollar continues to push on higher as it gets a rebound from about that 100 zone that we've been talking about. So, we definitely want to pay attention to this, because a stronger dollar does create some headwinds for equities, and we clearly can see that inverse relation that we have witnessed since the beginning of this new year. So definitely want to pay attention to that. We did see some relative strength today in Google. Google did actually close up about 0.54% and closing right at its daily 50 simple moving average. But yeah, good stuff there from Google. Might want to pay attention to that. One of the big outperformers today is definitely crude oil and energy names. Energy closed up 1.63%. And I'll go ahead and give you an energy name here that I am definitely paying close attention to, and that is PSX, ticker symbol PSX, Phillips 66. Now, I'm still holding some 130 calls here that expire January 19th. I am probably either going to roll up and out on those. I did already take profits. I'm looking to continue to capitalize on this, but as you can see, this name is at all-time highs and is looking to march on forward. I have targets of about 139.45 here. So I definitely want to pay attention to that. If this continues, and if energy continues to be relatively strong, I definitely want to keep my eyes on this. So for a trade I'm looking at is if we break above into fresh new all-time highs at about that 136.70 mark, then I'm looking for a swing all the way up to about that 139, 140 and hit my other key price targets. We've already hit one at about 136. So just looking to, take more of the cake there. So definitely looking at that. Solar names definitely had a tough day today. In phase down about 6.5%. We've seen that SEDG also took a hit, down about 6% there. So solar names continue to be a little bit wonky. I'm not involved in any of those, and I don't plan to be on it. Actually, Enphase is an interesting one, but yeah, I don't have anything open on it just yet. As far as everything else goes, the interesting thing came up today was, the DEA is reviewing a marijuana classification, is classification on marijuana. So, we know that there's a lot of political back and forth with marijuana, and we know that they're trying to introduce state bills here and there, as well as trying to get things pushed on the federal level. So it's definitely pretty interesting. The MSOS cannabis ETF actually got halted for a little bit, up 5.62% close on the day. And you also got names like Tilray reacting off of that news as well. You can probably read up on this, but yeah, Tilray looking good. Let's check out MJ, which is the marijuana ETF, also getting a nice little bid at up about 3.15%. Looks pretty interesting, about 344 and closing right at the daily 200 simple moving average. So pretty good stuff there. Yeah, let's see. As far as, the daily watch list, yesterday I did talk about BRK.B. Being an interesting play, and it actually unfolded right in front of our eyes today, and we actually took a pretty good position on it. We took the 365 calls from 455 all the way up to 590, a 30% gain overall. And this is still looking pretty good. The daily squeeze is still firing to the long side. We got good bullish momentum here and good structure. I think this thing pushes up to all-time highs soon. So, I shed most. I'm still holding some swingers here on Berkshire Hathaway, BRK.B, and we'll see if we can get that push into all-time highs on the runners. Another player today that did really well was Lilly, closing up 4.3%. We were looking for longs above 592.72, and you had this nice gap up and follow through. We know healthcare names had a pretty good day yesterday, although healthcare overall in general closed relatively flat, down about 0.15%. Lilly had a pretty great day today and exceeded our targets there, and she continues to be a market leader. In other news, Walmart was a pretty interesting one. It has this nice little gap down from its prior earnings. And, I jumped the gun a little bit. As soon as the market opened, I went long on calls, and I got clapped on it and lost 42% on that play, which, ouch. But we did ultimately make it up with other day trades today. So a little bit early there to the gun. But yeah, I still like it as a potential swing candidate. We'll see if we can ride a wave all the way up to 162.15, which would be the 618 retracement off that all-time high at about that 170 level. So that's going to be my main target for the swing that we got into. But yeah, let's talk about some of the day trades. We discussed BRK.B. We discussed Walmart. Netflix was another one that took a little bit hit on the chin. I was looking at the 475 calls. I got in at $4.30, and I had to hop out at $3. So a little bit of a pain of a trade there. Took a loss of 30%. But yeah, what we were looking at this break above the opening range high there, and we started to get that move up. I could have taken initial profits, but we were nowhere near my targets, so I stayed in it. We got this pullback towards the 5-minute, and we just didn't move anywhere, and I just eventually had to cut it just because of the theta decay, and we would just need an even bigger move just to get us going. So I went ahead and just took those off the table. SPY was a pretty good one today. We traded SPY. We took the 469 calls from a buck 15 all the way up to a buck 30. We were playing off these support levels here this morning, and we rode that up for a nice little small gain before being stopped out on runners. And we also got to play SPX quite a few times with the 4720 call. Initially, we took it from $3.60 all the way to $4, and then $3.50 to $5 for a nice 43% gain. So a nice victory there on the SPX. We also had put credit spreads that we took profit at 62% on that. So overall, a fantastic day today. In general, we started off a little wonky with that Walmart and Netflix positions, but we easily made ground up with Berkshire, SPY, and the SPX. So yeah, let me give you one more. I talked about PSX as an energy trade. One setup that I am keeping an eye on also is PDD, Pin Duo Duo. This one had a nice little breakout of the trend line. Looking to see if we can get some follow through tomorrow up to that 150 mark. It's not too far off. It closed at 148.35. Yeah, 130, about 140, almost 149. And looking at a move towards 150, so it wouldn't be too far out of the picture. We'll see if we get some follow through. It's in this nice upward channel here. So yeah, it looks pretty good. Relative strength there. Also PSX. So yeah, a lot to digest, and yeah, lots to pay attention to. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, fuzz@stockdads.com, or shoot me a DM on Discord for any questions at all. But yeah, good job today overall. Nice session for everybody in general, I do believe. Looking forward to tomorrow, and we will catch you in the next one. Take care, guys.